Good morning, everyone, and greetings from Prevention Action Alliance in Columbus, Ohio. My name is Brittany Sandage, and I'm the Director of Coalition Programs here at the agency. It is 10 a.m. on November 14th, and we're going to kick off our Advocacy and Legislative Update webinar for the day. Just a couple of housekeeping items as we begin to get started. I see folks are still kind of coming into the room. You will have your CE certificates emailed to you per usual, and wanted to let you know as well that we've had a few requests for the PowerPoints after the fact. We are going to try in the future, beginning next month, to actually include a PDF link to the slides that we provide you today that will also go out with your RCH certificates, your CE certificates. So you can look for that in December, but if you need those today, don't hesitate to reach out to Tony or myself, and we will make sure to get you connected with all of those things. So I will kick it straight over to Tony Coder.
Thank you so much, Brittany Sandage. So good to be with you this morning. Hope all is going well and that you're getting prepared for Thanksgiving and family and all the fun stuff that comes in November, December, and those exciting winter months. So let's get started right off the bat with the State House. Not a whole lot going on at the State House. In fact, we're probably in a, for the rest of the year, we'll probably be in somewhat of a kind of a slow period. One of the bills that keeps getting hearings, it passed the Senate and continues to go through the House. It's had a couple hearings, and it is not on a schedule that I have seen in the near future, but I'm sure will be picked up after the first of the year, is Senate Bill 71, which is the agency contracts. This bill is basically a bill that would allow boards of mental health and recovery services to be allowed to have a $25,000 limit that they would be allowed to spend without board approval. So this gives the board director a bit of a cushion there in case there are emergency services or those types of situations that happen in communities. Originally it was $50,000, but it was amended in the final Senate version down to $25,000, and this is going through committee right now. And if you are someone who believes that boards should be given that type of latitude to be able to spend the money, especially in emergency situations, then I would encourage you to contact your board director, see how you are able to help, or any of your your elected officials, and those types of folks. Also, these are bills that I think will be probably taking up and getting some steam right after the first of the year. There are 3 bullying bills. I'm guessing that there will be some kind of bullying legislation passed in early of next year. There is House Bill 360, which is the Ohio Anti-Bullying and Hazing Act, which kind of is an overarching, not a whole lot of direction, however, in this bill about how this, what kind of penalties would be around for bullying and those types of things. That, however, is sponsored by a Republican, and since both the House and the Senate are Republican dominated, the Senate is by a supermajority, then this is the one I'm probably guessing will have a little more traction simply because of the political nature of the State House. Senate Bill 196 and 197 are also both bullying bills, both by Senator Sandra Williams from up near the, I think, Cleveland area. The first would be to create an aggravated bullying criminal offense for schools. So after so many times, then there would actually be a misdemeanor charge that would be waged against whoever was bullying another person. So that is Senate Bill 196. 197 is a tiered system of punishment. I think there are 6 levels that you can get to. These would be school-oriented types of punishments, that would include, kind of a verbal counseling, and then parents' involvement, all the way up to expulsion for the student. So, this is something that I don't think has a whole whole lot. I don't think either one of these bills have a whole lot of traction. But with the vagueness of the House Bill 360, it will be interesting if there will be some aspects of these bills, the latter two, 196 and 197, going into 360 to kind of firm up what some of those, I guess, punishments or some of those guidelines might be. Another new bill that is, that's kind of interesting is House Bill 409, which is a veterans treatment bill. And what that would do would be able to allow counties to create veteran substance abuse courts. So if you're a veteran of the armed forces and you have a substance abuse problem, it's a lot like a drug court where there's not, you wouldn't go to jail. You would instead go to this drug court, go through this drug court system and deal with, not only the substance abuse issues, but also the perhaps PTSD, some of the mental health issues that lie, with some folks who come back from, those very, very, tense situations in war and such. So that was just introduced last week. It has not had a hearing, nor is it on a schedule yet. But it is something that I think we probably need to pay attention to. That is something that has been suggested in the past. I first heard about a veterans treatment drug court a few years ago. And, frankly, a little bit surprised it's taken this long to get something introduced. But this might be something that, we look at, and it might be an option for those who have served in our military. Also, Senate Bill 229, it's another bill introduced by Senator Eklund about the controlled substances issue, how that's regulated. Not a whole lot of detail on it. But something that we probably need to keep our eye on and pay attention to, so that we can understand how these controlled substances. These are controlled substances that would be regulated through the pharmacy, Schedule 1 types of drugs, so we're looking at changing the regulation, perhaps making it a little bit tougher. Yet, at the same time, I heard Senator Eklund say, at the same time, also being able to help manage a person's pain and those types of issues with this bill. So this will be something that we'll keep an eye on. But those, I'm guessing, are going to be issues, bills that will be discussed after the first of the year.
Tony, we have a question from Alice up in the northern area. Was curious as to what our take is around bullying, and whether or not we see that activity as something that's worthy of punishment, or whether we're looking for teachable moments in these situations and we're advocating for treatment and support. Could you speak to that a little bit?
I always get a little bit, and I know it's a misdemeanor, I always get a little bit nervous, however, about bullying being a criminal offense for young people. I like what Alice and Brittany said, that this is very much a teachable moment type of opportunity, and I personally, I can't speak for this agency, nor can I speak for SPCA or anyone else. This is just from a very personal level. I have difficulty when when this bill actually criminalizes something that we could probably go into. Perhaps there could be counseling and less of a heavy-handed part of the law. Now, this also, I understand bullying victims' views as well. That if you're bullied, this is something that lasts for some folks a lifetime. A very personal note: a young man I went to high school with, saw him, probably a year ago, and 48 years old, and he's never gotten over the cruelty of young people, and it's impacted his entire life. So there's a delicate balance, I think. However, I think to criminalize this is away some of the opportunities that we could provide in, assisting that young person in, in helping them understand bullying. And also, bullies, I don't think just happen overnight. I think it's a progression of things going on in their own lives. And so I also think that, it'd be a great opportunity for us to discuss any of those issues and perhaps become a friend or a mentor to these folks. So, again, this is, I think, perhaps a bigger discussion for SPCA to have about bullying and what our viewpoints are. And this, again, is a very personal view just from reallyBigT@yahoo.com, which is me. Okay. So there's quite a few prevention initiatives that have popped up over the last month since our last webinar. First, most recently, Governor Kasich spoke at the School Boards Association meeting, and he challenged schools to use teaching materials from Start Talking and really focus upon doing some prevention work in every aspect of your lessons and making them part of your lesson plans and including them just in all that is taught somehow. He promoted Start Talking. There's some resources for teachers there and for educators. So he really was pushing it. Interestingly enough, during the budget process, he had brought this up before, and it was not taken very well by the School Boards Association. But he continues to push that, and I'm sure as he continues to look forward to whatever his future political aspirations are, this will be a piece that he will carry with him. So this is one piece. Another, Purdue Pharma, which are the creators of OxyContin, are promoting, they just came out with a $1.5 million interactive prevention program done by some video place that supposedly has quote-unquote evidence-based prevention experience. And they are going to release it in high schools in California, Texas, Connecticut, and Ohio. So 200 high schools are going to be given this opportunity to get this free resource. They also, there has been some criticism about why they're doing this now. The reason that the critics have been saying is that Purdue Pharma is being sued by many attorneys general across the country for their marketing of opiate products, most namely OxyContin. So there are some who think this is too little, too late, and some have compared it to a prevention program from the alcohol industry. However, we can send the link to the Purdue Pharma prevention program page. You have to sign up for their evidence-based program guide that they have on their website. But that is something that you basically sign up with your name, your email, and you'll probably be on their email list forever. But and their phone number and those types of things. But you could at least see what schools are being given for free, and they're really being marketed to high schools and some colleges in the state of Ohio. So that would be something that you might want to pay attention to. Also, the Attorney General, Mike DeWine, has released his Recovery Ohio initiative to help with the opiate epidemic, and basically he had 12 points. Oh my God, it's cold. Sorry about that. His point number one, what he thinks will help Ohio recover from the opiate epidemic, is declare a public health emergency statewide. He also wants to create a 21st century law enforcement data infrastructure that is in real time and can let law enforcement know what is going on across the state and with folks. Expand the proven drug task force models that basically target Mexican drug cartels. We know that Frank, some of the a lot of the heroin's coming from Mexico. I wish that would be expanded to not only Mexican drug cartels, but also, the majority of our fentanyl and carfentanil is coming from China. So, I don't know if it's a great idea to focus on, and he knows more than I do, so this is just me talking probably. But I wish it would be not so specified on a certain on certain countries, but instead look at it holistically, that this is not just coming from Mexico. There's a lot of drugs coming over from Canada, China, and other countries around the world. And also, I think we need to look at this is not part of Recovery Ohio, but Oregon is basically the marijuana, the biggest international marijuana distributor. So we also need to look within our own walls as well about what's going on as far as the drug, the cartels that operate. There's also more specialized drug courts, which goes back to the House bill that we just spoke about, the specialized drug court, in that case the Veterans Court. Double substance use treatment capacity, expand the workforce of critical specialists, which would include prevention specialists, prevention consultants. So how can we expand that workforce of individuals who are able to help in this field? We are terribly, underfunded, and also I won't say undermanned, underpersoned, because and I think that really needs to expand not only the folks, but also the trainings that we have. And then also to empower employers to help employees with substance use disorder to seek treatment, not try to be not so much on firing a person, but instead treating the disease so that they can gain recovery and then move on with their life and stay in recovery. Point number 8 in his plan is to help business owners hire employers in recovery by offering incentives, which that's one of the things that we hear. The recidivism rate is not very high. When someone is released from prison, especially for drug charges, they are not given that opportunity. Some employers do not like to hire folks who are in recovery or who have been released from correctional facilities, and this would be a good way to integrate folks back into society and actually give them some hope in their lives. As everyone knows, substance use is can be a pretty hopeless time, and to be able to give them hope and a future, I think is pretty valuable. And also create a special position reporting directly to the governor with basically the single focus of fighting the opiate epidemic. So there would be one person. It would almost be our drug czar of Ohio. This actually happens in other states. There are some statewide drug czars that are out there, and that's another one of his points. Having kindergarten through 12th grade drug prevention education in all Ohio schools, having a statewide prevention media campaign, and intervention programs that target Ohio families and children in foster care.
Tony, we've got a couple questions coming in just specifically around Recovery Ohio, and I want to cover those before we move on. A question from Evie for clarification. Is Recovery Ohio a part of DeWine's gubernatorial run, or is this an initiative he's seeking to implement components of immediately? What can we be looking for in that regard?
I think that he would like to, implement some of this through legislation. I'm guessing that the Veterans Treatment Bill is part of that. So I'm guessing that he is going, he obviously has, great power and influence over the law enforcement community. He's been doing an awful lot over the past few years, holding prevention discussions and what is needed. Our director, Marcie Seidel, sat on a couple of those committees. So I do think that they're trying to implement now. If he is, put into governor, elected governor, I think that will speed things up, and he will have more power to do this. But I don't think he's just waiting for this to happen in a year. I think he's actually trying to do some things now.
Tony, a question from Alice. What is the primary impact if Ohio were to declare a public health emergency?
More funding, basically. More funding would be delegated to to all kinds of folks: prevention, treatment, and recovery. So it basically is that you're allowed to, there'd be some discretion over funds, and those funds would be able to go out into communities, into systems to help people, with young people and adults in prevention. Also, more folks getting treatment, and basically building communities that are stronger about recovery than before. All right, we do have a medical marijuana update. Really quickly, this is a couple weeks old, but I did want to bring these up. The tier two growers were selected in the last couple of weeks, and these establishments will be starting in across the state. The first one, Fire Rock Limited, they will not have 3 sites. They have to decide. So any day now, we should probably get notification about which site they chose. They have to choose either the Columbus, Canton, or Akron site. So they will only have one. Each of these groups will only have 1 site. The other interesting one is Paragon Development Group in Huber Heights. Huber Heights has actually issued a moratorium on marijuana businesses, so they're not really allowed to grow. So there, will have to be either some deal made, or this place is going to have to, Paragon will, I'm guessing, have to do something else. We don't know how that will turn out currently. So, these are the 12 sites. So you can see they're kind of all over the place in Ohio. Frankly, the majority of them are in the northern part of Ohio. There's some, kind of spread out, but there's a lot of them kind of the northern part. So that is, what we're looking at now in the state, and hopefully they will have till next September. They're allowed, I think, up to 3,000 square feet or something like that, and then that could double to 6,000 square feet. So they're the smaller growers. So what's up next is the Tier 1 applications. The bigger growers, I think that's 25,000 square feet. Those will actually be, their applications are due on Friday, this Friday, and then they will be chosen in the next couple of weeks. So we will know where those larger groups are as well. So to go with a little bit of a timeline here, as I said, the Tier 1 growers are chosen, and then the dispensary applications also must be received in the next week or so. So we have that. Next will be the testing facility site. Suppose that the original law said that that it has to be an institution of higher learning, and both Hocking College and Central State University have expressed interest in becoming the testing facility for the state of Ohio. So that will be the next group that will be tested. And then there will be processors, applications that will be released. They're the ones who will cut up the marijuana and put it into oils and all of the other kind of stuff. One question I keep getting asked across the country that I really don't know the answer to, I just think it's kind of funny, is where do we get all the seeds? If a marijuana business is started, where do they get the seeds? Because you can't take it across state lines, because that's considered, interstate trafficking. So, these seeds we don't just get from, the Fruit Loops box. I don't know exactly where they get them. It's a question that's asked all the time, and don't know the answer. Just think it's kind of funny, and maybe something that you may bring up during a city council meeting just to confuse everybody. A couple of things that with Sam that have been released. One is these are a couple of awareness programs. They're not evidence-based. They're just getting the word out there, awareness. One is Are We Sure?, which is basically it's a question kind of campaign that's put out there. Are we sure we want gummy bear lollipops in our community? Are we sure we want pot shops? The big tobacco's wiped out and replaced with marijuana. Also, just last Monday, I was in San Diego. We had the release of High Means DUI, which is basically an awareness program that kind of coming on the heels of the Liberty Mutual survey that where a third of the high school kids surveyed said that driving high makes you a better driver. So this is something to kind of educate folks that when you're high, it's still a DUI. It's not better than drunk driving, or it doesn't improve your driving. There's some victims, one including a woman from Ohio, Corinne Gasper, whose daughter was actually had just graduated magna cum laude from her school and was starting her career, and was driving to work one day, and a gentleman a medical marijuana card holder from Michigan was going 82 miles an hour through a red light in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, hit her and killed this woman's daughter. So she is, active in this in Ohio, and trying to get out the word that if you're driving while high, this is not something that is acceptable, nor is it safe. In her case, the gentleman who hit and killed her daughter got a 15-month sentence, and is now done with actually parole. So he is free to go on with his life while she visits her daughter's grave every week. So these are a couple of programs that are out there that are if you'd like to use them from Sam, that would be fantastic. Those are the websites there if you want to get a little look at them a little bit and see what those are all about. And then finally, really quickly, I wanted to make a little announcement here that I am leaving Sam. The travel has, I've been on the road about 100 days this year, and with a young family and parents who are aging and having some health issues, I have decided to leave Sam. I wanted to promote Sam so that I'm not in a fight with anybody. This is strictly a very personal decision that is best for me and my family. And I will be joining the Ohio Association of County Behavioral Health Authorities, basically the boards, the state board agency led by Sherry Walter. I am the things that I will be, revolving around are basically the recovery-oriented systems of care, which is kind of what we call the continuum of care. They have a little bit different title for it, I guess. Also dealing, be that conduit and that liaison for prevention for the boards. We have so many more board directors who are, prevention specialists. So, we want to make sure that prevention is well represented at the boards, and then also, of course, continue on with the marijuana piece. So I'm actually kind of coming home in a sort of way. I want to I want to not kind of, but I want to thank Marcie for being such a great friend and understanding. During I've been kind of pulling double duty, and she has been absolutely a gem to not only call a boss but a friend for nearly 20 years, and she will be taking this section over. She'll be doing the advocacy calls from here on, But you know, we will still be working very closely together, probably closer now than we were, and I'm very excited about that as well. So just, you know, before that got out there, I wanted to address it right up front, and you know, continue working with all of you on advocacy issues, and you know, making sure that prevention, recovery, and treatment are held to the highest of standards in the state of Ohio.
Thank you very much, Tony. As always, it has been a pleasure, and we so appreciate everything that you're bringing to these calls and to all of us as we continue our advocacy work that is so important at the local level and at a state level. Your leadership has been amazing. Marcie, I hesitate to tell you, but you have to go right to work right now. I have a question for you, actually, from the field. We had a question coming from Devin. Specifically, will Ohio schools be required to implement the K through 12 drug prevention curriculum based off of A.G. DeWine's curriculum requirements? So can you speak a little bit to the different things that are in play and clarify that for folks?
Yes, I don't think any school is going to be required to use any specific curriculum. It's the curriculums that are out there. There's one from Start Talking, the AG, and is promoting, but they're promoting the fact that we need to have this kind of education within the schools. And of course, schools are home rule, and they will make the decisions on what they need to put it in place. I know that there was legislation last year that required opiate training or education within the schools. That's a very loose sort of document. Just some schools are jumping in to do it. Others are lagging behind a little bit in doing that. But whatever they choose to do, there's no particular or specific curriculum at this point that they're required to use. So I think it's important for coalitions and to take a look at what might be the best options and to encourage them to talk to their school leaders about how they can be helpful with that particular educational component.
Thank you so much, Marcie and Tony. We appreciate everyone being on the call today. I don't have very many questions coming in aside from some housekeeping things that I'm answering personally. So that is our wrap for this Tuesday on November 14th. As always, if you have questions, if you need additional resources, please don't hesitate to reach out to us in our offices. We are here to help as much as we can. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful afternoon.